Hey everybody, just thought we'd go through and do a real quick sprint watch. Actually, this one surprisingly won't be quick because they added a bunch of stuff this time. Typically what they do is quarterly, they'll have sort of a quick, well, not quick, they'll have a reassessment where they'll kind of go through, look at their deliverables and sort of say, we need more time in this, we need another team on this, and this one's good to go. We can actually wrap this one early. That's rare, but it does happen. But typically that's at the end of the quarter. We're in September, so it's kind of end of the quarter ish. So I think that's what's happening right now, because boy howdy did a lot of things change this time, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So the way that I typically do this is I will kind of go through my usual caveats at the beginning, which I'll be doing in a second here. Then we'll read through the roadmap roundup, just to kind of see what the devs thought was important enough to share with us, sort of call attention to. Then I kind of take a real quick look at the roadmap as they have it, see if they've added anything, just sort of see if things are tentative or committed. And then I'd go into the deliverables. I start going through all of the sprints that they're currently working on. So starting off, let's go with the caveats. So the way that CIG works on things is they work on it in agile development, which means that they go in sprints. And so it's not like they drop 100 pages on someone's desk and say, do all 100 pages. They'll say, we're going to work on this specific thing for 2 weeks. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, we'll see where we're at, kind of explore things. You may find something new. You may find big blocker bugs that have got to be worked on. You got to find other teams have got to come in and do their thing. So sprints, just because somebody has completed 100% of their work for that sprint, it doesn't mean the whole deliverable is ready to go. So you will see things on there that were completed months ago that aren't finished, and they aren't in the game because another team has to come in and work on them, or they ran into a blocker that they couldn't solve with their current tech, and so now they're going to go back and tackle it later once more tools are online or it's a bigger priority, that sort of thing. So those are the caveats. So just because something's 100% done does not mean it's done. With that said, that concludes the intro and the caveats. Let's go down and do the roadmap roundup. So I tend to skip this top part, but the last couple times they've hidden little nuggets in there, so I'm actually going to read the whole thing. There are other people that go into this in more detail, and probably have better speaking voices than me, so you might want to watch theirs instead. So I'll put the sort of tricky parts in the, or I'll put tags down in the down below part so that you can skip ahead if you don't want to listen to this part. So let's go. Roadmap roundup. September 14th, 2022, 1 p.m. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision-making that led to any changes. They leave out a lot on these, by the way. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you to help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup. CIG Community Team. Notable changes for September 14th, 2022. Alpha 318. Before we jump into the roadmap update, we would like to give an update on the status of 318, as well as an update on our standard release cadence for this year. As previously mentioned, we are still on track to release Alpha 318 to the PTU this month. Highly dubious. We will start with Evocati and aim to expand to more players soon after. We are eager to get Persistent Entity Streaming, PES, in her hands as quickly as possible, as the more time we have with all of you hammering on this new behemoth of technology, the better. Agreed. As communicated in the last letter from the chairman, we expect PES to remain the PTU for 2 to 3 months for robust testing, which would mean I was thinking 318 would be dropping around November, so that would hit that cadence they're talking about. I think what they might do is drop it on us right before they go on vacation. So like mid-December, let us serve stew and all the bugs. I would hope what they would do is just leave 317.2 in the PU and leave this one in the PTU if it comes to that, but we'll kind of see what they do. Anyway, letter for the chairman. Our current goal is to release Alpha 3.18 to the live servers in the first half of November. There we go. Good, just kept reading. Ahead of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, you'll hear me mention IAE a lot. This means that the 3.18 patch now also includes content related to the IAE, which you will notice in the detailed breakdown below. As you know, PES and subsequent technologies, server meshing, will change the core of Star Citizen forever and provide a giant leap forward in realizing the vision of what our shared universe is meant to be. It is no surprise that we have an abnormal cadence this year, and we are appreciative of all your support as we push through these major milestones. That is a thank you for your patience quote in there if I've ever heard one, but well deserved. And they did warn us. And this is kind of the turning point. Like, they tried to get this out, the sort of a version of PES and the long ago, and they couldn't, well, long ago, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, couldn't get it working. And so this persistent NA streaming is kind of take two on that. So hopefully it works. They seem a little more confident this time. Release view. The following card has been added to release view, slated for Alpha 3.18. Drake Corsair. This is a cool one. And this is one that I thought was dropping in IAE, so kind of explains why it's here. After further review, these deliverables will require... no, that's a separate one. Building, balancing, and implementing Drake Interplanetary's multi-crew explorer, the Corsair, into the game. It's basically their equivalent of the MSR, the Connie, kind of a baby Carrack, but yeah, more contemporary of the Constellation. Corsair is a cool ship. After further review, these deliverables will require additional tasks that are currently being scoped out and scheduled. Therefore, we are removing these two cards from the release view until release timing is reassessed. New interdiction scenarios. Yeah, I was going to talk about that one. Environmental space missions. So those two were removed. Not hugely surprised, and I'll talk about that in a bit when we get to the deliverables. Progress tracker. With this publish, we're beginning to add the Q2 2023 schedule for upstream teams, with more teams to follow in subsequent publishes. The following deliverable, previously removed, is returning to the progress tracker with this publish. APOAS and Tokiai. Building, balancing, and implementing APOA's medium fighter, the Santokiai, into the game. After assessing with the team the vehicles being worked on for Squadron 42 taking a higher priority, the following vehicles are being removed from the progress tracker temporarily until resources can be reallocated. RSI Apollo and Tumble Ranger. Womp womp. That is the basically kind of the oversized ambulance, and the Tumble Ranger is the motorcycle. Additional focus on USPU is being placed on the freight elevators deliverable for hangar and cargo, and is the prerequisite for hangars to persist. Yeah, I'd say so. Therefore, we're removing feature work for the following deliverable temporarily as this work is being completed. Persistent hangars. That's all for this week. Join the discussion on Spectrum and check out the roadmap companion guide for more information on the Star Citizen public roadmap. We won't be doing that. That kind of reminds me a little bit of house cleaning. Last week I kind of had a quick shot on because there was an image of an isopod, the report, the monthly report for the PU. They had a picture of an isopod there, and my theory was that was the Ranta, because Rantas leave dung everywhere and they're supposed to be isopods. But it was clarified in last Friday's sort of talk with the narrative team that is actually a rock bug and not the Ranta. And I will be posting here, hopefully, if I remember to, a picture of Sherry Heiberg's, who is the one of the lead archivists for this whole project, is also now a concept artist. So you can see that right there. Okay, so that's it for the roadmap roundup. So let's pop on over to the release view, which is this, which is more of a traditional roadmap. Just kind of shows what they're planning on putting on there. Basically, this year, this one has been a lot more accurate than it has been in the past. It used to be you'd be getting like a month out from the release of the patch and they drop half the things and they just shove in filler. But here we go. So Daymar Crash Site, New Rivers on Stanton, Sand Cave, Grey Cat PTV, these have all been pretty standard for the last few times. Cargo System Refactor, which I thought was looking iffy, but if they're going to be leaving it in the PTU for this long, should make it. I was thinking that might get bumped out. Sandbox Prison Activities, should make prison play a little bit more interesting. Again, it's been there for a little while. Security Post Korea reactivation. They've toughened up Security Post Korea, so basically it's a much harder nut to crack, and they've kind of turned it into a full-time jump town that if you go in there, you clear the security, pop like the lieutenant equivalent, you can get a code and fire the thing up and it'll just produce random things for you to grab. New Mission Orison, that one jumped out a little bit, kind of a little iffy. Salvage Hull Stripping, Cargo Refactor, Salvage, and PES are the cornerstones of this. So this patch will not be releasing without Salvage, Cargo, and PES. Everything else is tentative for reals. Ships and Vehicles, Drake Vulture has been on there for a little while. It wrapped, I think 2 weeks ago, so it's ready to go. We'll need to test it in the PTU just to kind of hammer out any nagging issues, but all in all should be ready to go. Drake Corsair, I'm guessing that one is going to be dropping a lot closer to IAE, so mid-November. It's still got a month or so it's not going to be in the early builds of the PTU by any stretch. When they said that they were going to be dropping in things for IAE into the build, that's what they're talking about. Grey Cat multi-tool salvage attachment. This is just going to be on the little handheld multi-tool. They have finished the industrial sized one for a while now. That's been done for about a year, so they might sneak that in too. They've shown it on the backs of characters in some of their vids. That and the tractor beam, I wouldn't be, like the industrial size tractor beam, wouldn't be too surprised if we see that and then persistent AA streaming. So that's it for the release view. Let's get into the progress tracker. So the way that I set this up, this is the progress tracker, this is the deliverables view. I set it to 1 quarter so I can get accurate to the weeks. This right here, we're in week 12 of quarter 3. They're about to wrap quarter 3, which is why I was saying that they kind of have their quarterly reassessment. Even though they're not dropping the patches on the quarter this time, they're still kind of doing their team reassessments, I think. Definitely. Just I'm sort of seeing the jumps in time for some of these that you'd normally see at the end of a quarter. So even though they're not releasing 318 on the quarter, here we are. So let's go ahead and get into this since we do have a lot of things to talk about. So we have got I did pre-game this a little bit, Anvil Legionnaire. So the Anvil Legionnaire was one that I was talking about for a long time, where they kind of finished this little sprint up here, a little sprint down here, and it was going to take it 56 weeks or something, and we were most of the way in between the gap between this work being done and when they'd actually start working on it. You'll notice there's nothing over here now, so kind of like I was saying that they would need to wait until those vehicle content teams were available, because they're working on things like Squadron 42 basically. So even though they mentioned the Lynx and the Ranger, Anvil Legionnaire suffered too, because it was due to start work I think in December. So yeah, it got bounced for right now. On down to the BMM. BMM is kind of rounding into its sort of end game right now. I mean, it's still got a little ways to go. It's going to be like Q2 of next year. I still think it... Okay, let me correct that. I thought it was going to be dropping around June, but they added 13 more weeks to it for the vehicle content team. Again, I think it's just one guy working on this right now, so good luck, dude. And then once it gets down here, you're going to have the UI teams jump in. You're going to have VFX jump back in. Sounds are audio is going to have to jump in. So it's looking like it might more accurately be IAE of next year. Sorry, that's my baby, so I was kind of hoping on it too. Cargo system refactor, again, there's a cornerstone of 318. They have it tentative, but again, they're not going to release 318 until this one's here. So you can see this is coming in week 9 of Q4, so you've kind of got October, November. They're kind of expecting it around, so they're probably going to drop it to the PTU before it's completed here. They usually do that, so this is kind of polishing to kind of let us chew on it and say you need to fix this or that. So yeah, that kind of goes along with the thought that they're going to release at IAE, and they might just do it be damned, like we're releasing it for IAE regardless of whether it's ready to go or not, which I don't wholly agree with, but I think that they're a little leery of having another gap like we had for 2.6 to 3.0, which I think was about a year. Character work, this is for Squadron 42. This is just creation and implementation of various characters in Squadron 42 single player campaign, including art, animation, and AI behavior. So Squadron 42 single player game, animations of AI, pretty important. They added 7 weeks on this, which given the number of teams on this isn't too surprising. So they're just doing polishing on Squadron 42 at this point. My theory is that they're going to have a go, no go to beta, and that call is probably going to be made probably beginning of December. And at that point, they're going to say, we're feature complete. We're not adding anything more to Squadron 42. That doesn't mean that they're done with everything. They're still going to be polishing, but they're going to mostly start hammering out bugs at that point, would be my guess. So moving on down to the next one, Charge Drain. This one only added 2 weeks. I don't think we're too far out on this one. Charge Drain will kind of be back end related to engineering, I would think. It's like loading up your multi-tool and stuff like that will have drain on it, so you won't just be able to tractor beam an entire bunker's worth of boxes. You're going to have to be replacing batteries. You're going to have to carry batteries with you, and that's going to start adding up. But that's what that is. Again, I think that 319 will be a low-key... I was thinking it was going to be a medical and engineering patch. I think it might just be an engineering patch. We'll see. Moving on. Docking ship to ship is down in the D's. So this is one where they had it going. It was like 120-week sprint or something like that. Now they're just saying, it's done. The audio team is the only team that worked on this. It's not done. They got to have the vehicle content team, vehicle feature team. Is that right? Probably have PU team in there at some point working on it. Just that one's going to be a little complicated. They've kind of got the mechanics down with refueling, but that's going to be a different monster because things are going to have to be, well, I guess, yeah, it's going to be kind of the same mechanic as refueling or docking ship to station, which has been done for a while. Anyways, moving on. They basically killed the later sprint, like whenever another team was going to take it up. So it's finished. It's 100%. It's clearly not done. So the next one down, this will excite a lot of people. Drake Corsair. No weeks added to it. It's sitting at 90% complete. vehicle feature team gets on board. It looks like VFX and audio are done. I wouldn't be surprised if they take one more swipe at it. Right about here is starting to push IAE. So, like, let's see, this is December. Yeah, that's IAE. So it would be ready on IAE, which I was kind of thinking was going to be their plan. Just the Drake Corsair is a really popular ship for good reason. And having a resale of it at IAE will help a lot, especially since they're going to be lacking keynotes and stuff like that. Moving on down, EVA Tier 2. This is one I also think this is something they might sneak it into 318. I would expect to see it for 319 if not. EVA is something that's needed help for a long time. I think I say that every time. But there's other things that make me think EVA is coming sooner than we think, and they might try to sneak it in. Fire Rat's armor. This is just character concept art. So they're just kind of working on what their outfits will look like. This is a gang in Pyro. So it's Xenothreat. It's these guys. They have like a team of Batmen. I can't remember their name. Overseers or something like that. Who knows? Black ammo added 45 weeks, but there's another one where there's a big gap. So they had the narrative team work on here, and then the weapon feature team is picking it up way out here. When there's that much of a gap between teams picking it up, don't count on that. That's aspirational. That isn't reality. Doesn't mean they won't get to it. It just means they're thinking about it in there, but they could easily slot something else. FBS radar scanning. This is a big one, wrapping pretty soon. Again, I don't know if they're going to low-key sneak that into 318. If not, that's going to be 319. Would kind of go along with engineering, because this would be a good thing to kind of shunt over to a co-pilot seat if you wanted to on bigger ships, so it could go along with multi-crew, which engineering definitely will. Let's see. We've got Frontier Clothing is almost done. That's going to be all the clothing we're going to get when we go over to Pyro. FS Tech Animation. So this is the game dev integration of skin and DNA files with addition of level of detail, optimization, and fixes. So this is both Squadron 42 and the PU. This is kind of your character creator, which I have thought that they were going to kind of sneak something into this one, 318. It would be nice. We're still kind of lacking hair tech, and we haven't heard anything about it for like 3 years, so who knows, but it'd be real nice if they snuck in a new character creator for this patch. But if not, it's probably coming pretty soon, because you got to have it for Squadron 42. So they'll drop it to us after they've dropped it to Squadron 42. Rolling on down, we got hacking. So hacking, what did they do with hacking? Oh, they didn't add anything to hacking. Hacking is wrapping pretty soon. Again, you're kind of in that window for IAE. So if not 318, then 319. I would assume if they're going to have an engineering drop for 319, like I've been thinking, hacking would be another thing that would kind of have nice synergy with that. So let's see, jump points, how to jump. So this one added 12 weeks, so about 3 months to the schedule. So I mean, I think it was landing around the end of Q4. No, maybe not. Okay. So jump points, obviously something you're going to have before Pyro. So if they're going to be dropping, this is kind of one of those keys that if they're going to be dropping 4.0 in June, it would hit the mark. I'm thinking they probably want to release the BMM at the same time as 4.0, so 4.0 is probably going to sit in the PTU for a long time too, if I had to guess. So it might be a Q3 thing for 4.0. Ladders Tier 1, they added 10 weeks to this. we were just about to get it, I think, and then they just decided that they needed more time. We still might, but IAE is around here, so we might be getting that one for 319 instead. I kind of had high hopes for that. Ladders are basically a railroad right now. You get on one and you're either going up or down. You have no control and you can't do anything while you're on them except climb one way or the other. Life support. That's another big one for engineering gameplay. Again, this kind of blows up my theory that 319 is going to be an engineering patch, because this one drops in 4.0. Of course, there's nothing that says that they can't drop an engineering patch in 319 and then drop the next level of it in the next patch. So who knows? They got to do something for 319. It's got to have some sort of theme. Map and rare system rework is a big one. Again, I'm kind of getting a sense that they're going to sneak that in and kind of be like, and you got a new star map. It's going to be like, ah, because the star map has been terrible. Okay. MFD rework. This one added 18 weeks, which I don't know if you can have this without this. So maybe it's not going to be 319. This one's going to be 4.0. Yeah, you can sort of see that that's aiming to wrap in June of next year. So 4.0 not coming before June, I wouldn't think. Mystical Sea just added a few weeks, like 5 more. I think what they decided, I'm pretty sure they want to release this one for IAE and go along with the cargo refactor. This kind of pushes it out of the IAE window, so maybe not. It might be one of those things like the Scorpius where they drop it to us here, and then this is for polishing once it gets there and balancing. Just, it flies too fast, it's too maneuverable. When an arm gets blown off, you can't close the landing gear, something like that. That would be my guess, is they're going to try to release the whole C with cargo refactor in 318. We'll see if I'm right on that. Mop and bucket. Yeah, it's this is one that they finished long time back. Now it's up to 94 weeks. Now, the reason I wanted to point this one out, not only because they added it back and it's now at 94 weeks, is because a lot like the coffee stand that they added, this one is a lot more than just a janitor. So you read the description: enabling support for AI janitors to use multiple tools in either hand. That is big, because while it says janitors here, that is applicable to all AI will be able to use things in both hands. They're just testing it on the janitors. So that's one of those where the name is just doesn't sound that important. It's a big deal. Scrolling on down, new interdiction scenarios. So unfortunately, I was thinking one of the things they were going to do was drop in interdiction with mines, with space mines, and lo and behold, space mines jumped in weeks, and so did interdiction. So they're still trying to hammer this one out. But yeah, they added quite a few weeks. It's in Q1, so it's not going to be 318 anymore. So they added 17 weeks to that, so like almost 4 months. New missions in Orison, they added 8 weeks to this. Again, I think this is a situation where, knowing that 318 is going to drop in mid to late November, they're all like, well, what the hell, why don't we just polish these missions a little bit more? Because this one was due to drop. It might have wrapped last week, but they added 8 weeks. So no, it was going to wrap about here. But yeah, they just said, we got more time, let's just add more polish to these, make it a little bit prettier. New player experience, added another 8 weeks, so same thing. Coming down there. Again, that one's for the PU. Pretty cool. Ocean Shader, almost done. Origin X1, this is one I want to talk about. So, it added 20 weeks. Again, this is another situation kind of like a Legionnaire where concept worked on it up here. And then you have this great big gap. And then the vehicle feature team picks it up. Then at the very end, you have the vehicle content team pick it up. Again, look at how much time. This is quarter 1 of next year. They're going to work on it a little bit. And over here, quarter 2 of next year, they're going to work on it. Probably going to try to time that with the 600i rework, I would guess. But that far out, don't count on it. Just saying. I want the X1 too, but kind of surprises me it's taken them this long because their concept was pretty far along, but metrics and how grab vehicles has changed. I'm sure they've got other things they're working on. Outpost Homestead, this one added 13 weeks, so there's a lot of that like 12 to 13 week window where they just kind of added like 3 or 4 months on the end of it. Again, quarter 2 of next year. Actually, this one's going to be into quarter 3. So again, that's going to be something that you're going to have for Pyro. They're pushing it past June. So 4.0, not looking good for June. Persistent hangers. This is one of the ones that they said they dropped off on this. Where did they say that? Persistent hangers right here. Therefore, we're removing future work for the following deliverable. Okay, so that's what it is. So persistent hangers, this is another case where they're calling it done. They've still got work to do. So once they get the team or they realize what they're going to do, we pretty much have to have persistent hangers for the cargo refactor. So I would hope they're going to reassess it around here, but don't believe that. That's not 100% done. Persistent streaming. So this PES again. This is IAE. They're going to keep working on it. This is going to be like server meshing, or yeah, I think it is server meshing, where it's just going to be ongoing work on it for a while, even though they release it to us. So the PES portion they'll release to us, but there's still going to be other parts that they're working on past that. So don't panic on this. PES is still coming with 3.18. Physics with ropes. They've wrapped this one up. So this is one, I mean, now that we've got, what, 3 months, 2 months? Yeah, about 2 months until IAE. Hopefully we get an inside Star Citizen on what this rope simulation is. I'm assuming it's going to be for gameplay in the new caves for like climbing. Also exploration, if you could put it on cliff walls and stuff like that. Eventually you're not going to be able to fly in everywhere. So being able to explore caves and wrecks, ropes would be nice. So that's kind of cool. In theory, it's done. We'll see if it's actually done or not. Pyro. So again, this kind of goes along with the theory that 4.0 got pushed more. So they added 13 weeks to Pyro Plant mission setup. And again, you come out here, you look at it. Ends in quarter 2, probably going to get pushed out a bit more. It's one of those things that if the patch is going to get pushed to quarter 3, might as well keep polishing these things. I'm sure they're thinking the same thing. Quantum simulation added 12 weeks right here. So this is Quanta. This is the AI. This will be another thing that they need for Pyro. Probably they don't have to have it, but the economies of having 2 systems active and not having Quanta running would be a problem. But end of quarter 3, again, I had been thinking that they were going to do a June release of 4.0. Don't think that's the case anymore. Okay, so that's that page of notes. Rastar, this is what they used to build out all of the outposts and stuff. Wrapping. So that is huge. This will also be the tool that we get when we have the Pioneer to build outposts. Again, does not mean that the Pioneer is in the pipeline anywhere, hiding anywhere. It just means that the tool for them is completed, and now when they release the Pioneer will have its gameplay in place. So that's cool. That's cool. Make everyone's lives a little bit better. Rescue transport mission. This one actually wraps in a week, so by next week this will be done. That's kind of cool because you have to transport people. They could sneak this into 318. Rescue with NPCs able to go outside of I forget what they call it, nav mesh. They might be able to start walking on ships or not. No promises on that. That's just supposition on my part, but that's kind of a cool one. Transport missions are something that we've wanted for a while. So here it is. So taking advantage of AI follow behaviors to create missions where players transport customers from one location to another, along with prototype missions where player must rescue imperiled clients from dangerous situations and escort them to safety. That is cool. So it's kind of the flip side of bounty hunters. You're actually going and getting a client and rescuing them. Kind of cool. You could start doing dock wagon or whatever they're called in Cyberpunk, where you kind of come in with your med wagon and your guards and extract someone to save their life. Resource management. This is one that they talked about in last week's ISC. They kind of hinted at it at the very end as just kind of a toss away, which is a huge deal. So this is on the settlements. Settlements will actually be able to produce resources, which means it pretty much means that they will actually be producing resources, which means when we build them, when we start being able to build our own settlements, you can put it on like a mining node and it will produce that ore. That is very cool. RSI links. So this one added 11 weeks. There's another one where there's a gap and they're going to pick it up over here. In theory, I would assume just because the RSI links has been out there for so long, they actually will work on this one. This is the rover for the constellation Phoenix. It's the luxury rover for kind of the equivalent of the Ursa rover. So it'll probably carry 4 people-ish. It's smaller than the Spartan. Think Ursa rover size, near about right. Wrapping in Q1, so they might try to do the thing that I was talking about with 319, releasing that around the end of Q1. Originally, I was thinking that 319 would be a March patch, and then 4.0 would be a June patch. Looks like 4.0 will actually be a September patch. They might do a 3.20 to kind of tide us over in June, or they might not. But anyway, RSI links, they're going to be doing some work on it. Not too far away. Wouldn't be surprised if they kind of show us what the re-concept is, because the concept's been done for a little while. Salvage to tier 0 right here. They added 2 weeks on it, so it's not too bad. Should land around IAE, which is perfect. Again, that's a cornerstone of 318. They're not going to release 318 without that. Sandbox prison activities, wrapping, that's another 318 one. Security behavior. So the guards at Klesher might not be as derpy. Also the guards at Korea, security post Korea, might not be as derpy. This is all their security behaviors. Although from what I remember, Klesher was actually unmanned. Like the only people there were prisons, so it was all automated. Might be remembering that wrong. Ship CPU. This one's just a really big deal. This is another one that's going to be key for engineering gameplay, obviously. So this one coming at the end of Q4, so wouldn't make 318, I wouldn't think, especially since this team just starts work over here, which would be end of October, start of November. This would be a 3.19, so if they're going to do 3.19 as the engineering patch and they drop ship CPU in there, fit right in there. Space Mine. So this is one, they said it was wrapped back here. I should have known. This is one that I think they're going to try to do with interdictions. Just, you pop out and all of a sudden you're in a minefield. Makes more sense for Pyro than Stanton. So that might be why they pushed it out. Excuse me, that might be why they pushed it out. Again, quarter 2, 2023, they're dropping it in Pyro. They're not going to drop it in Stanton. And again, that far out for the vehicle feature team, that can get moved. Let's go on down. We've got the subsumption. Why'd I have that on there? Oh, because it's almost done. Okay. For a second there, I was like, wait, did they add weeks to this? No, it's almost complete. So this is subsumption logic is what the AI uses to kind of decide what it's going to do, if I remember correctly. So that's kind of a big deal and kind of a cool one. So let's keep on scrolling on down to this unannounced ship. I don't really have any notes on this. It did add about, I think about 15 weeks to it. I think it was 50 something. Again, 71 weeks just, and the concept team is most of that. So, I mean, the concept team has been chewing on this thing for a long time. This is a big ship, whatever it is. And if it took them 71 or like 50 weeks to work on the concept, it's not going to be like 2 months for building the thing. It's whatever that thing is. That's a big ship. So they're just blocking out a time for one person to kind of jump in and start tweaking it, would be my guess, or gray boxing it, or white boxing it, I guess. Is white box the first one or gray box? I think white box is the first. Underground facilities. Focus, Mike. They added 12 weeks to this one. This is one I think was originally... I think this is one that I kind of thought was going to land in 3.19. It still might, but it's looking like a 4.0 thing now. Just with the added weeks, it'd be kind of on the line for a 3.19 one if they drop it in March. But I would assume they're going to do underground facilities, just kind of drop all the G-Wiz outposts and underground facilities when they drop Pyro. Good synergy, good thought. We'll see. Vehicle tractor beams. So I thought for sure vehicle tractor beams would be one that they drop with cargo refactor, but it kept getting bounced, and it's obvious it's not going to. It's going to be a 4.0 thing. You guys see it's ending out here in June. And again, the fact that everything is ending out here in week 13 of quarter 2 tells me that that's probably not the actual end date. They just kind of chopped it there because that's as far as they're planning for stuff right now for various teams. So this one's probably a longer sprint. We'll see. But vehicle tractor beams, that's super cool. You're going to be able to use Caterpillar's functionality. 315 has a tractor beam. Trying to think other ships. SRV obviously has a tractor beam. You can't drop the SRV until you get vehicle tractor beams up, which is another reason why the SRV is gonna sit unworked on for a little while. Virtual AI service is, where'd it go? Virtual AI service. There we go. This one added 9 weeks. This is Quanta. So again, we might be getting Quanta Light for 3.18 or 3.19, and then getting the real deal in 4.0. It would make sense with the vehicle, or not the vehicle, the cargo refactor, that we would get some implementation of Quanta. But that was virtual AI service, weapon fire and misfire and wear. This one added 10 weeks to it. This one's kind of a big deal, but it's another one of those that kind of add a big gap. And again, you know what I say about big gaps that aren't your mom. Yeah. Big gaps. Weapon feature team picking it up several months from now. It's the weapon feature team, which is pretty overloaded, especially with Squadron 42 coming in all hot and bothered. That's aspirational. Doesn't mean we're getting it. Let's see, 0G push pull. So there's another one that I think is kind of getting in on that sneaky 318 territory. We might actually be getting new EVA game abilities, which would be huge, because EVA, I'll do a playthrough where I do a mission in EVA. It is a horror show. It is not fun to move around in EVA, but they might be able to sneak this into 318, and that would be a huge deal. This one will be push and pull. You'll actually, rather than firing your jets and just kind of Waldoing your way down a hallway, you'll be able to push off walls and kick off things and move that way without even using your jets. Will be pretty cool. I'm really hoping at some point we get to see an ISC on that one, especially if it's coming in 318. If not, it's definitely online for 319. I'm sure they're holding back some stuff for that. But gang, that's it. So this was a long one. Thanks for sticking around. Like and subscribe if you like these. You got any comments on something? Think I missed something? Got a question on something? Let me know down below. See me next time.